DIY. We've got weather things to talk about. We've got bird things to talk about. Oh, hold on. Yet another shed update.
Really?
Look, this, I really think we need to go back and look at how many months we've been talking about this shed, from inception to buying the parts, and then all of the stuff was sitting there in a bag for a very long time. And then finally it got started. And then the father-in-law came. I know, you're trying to take a breath. You're trying to get in. And then it's the last mile is where we're at.
You know, when you're in school and it was homework time and you had the whole weekend to do it.
Yeah.
And then you have to come up with something that is going to get you out of trouble. For me, on that Monday morning. And you're like, I've already used the dog ate the homework, and so you need something more creative than that. That's kind of where I am right now with the shed. And what actually happened, James, was last Friday. Actually, it was Thursday night. I was walking the dogs in the evening, and there was a street light that just lit up the shed beautifully.
Because the shed is on the outside.
Yes, it is. It's the front side, which was the whole issue. Yeah. So Natalie said, there's no way that you're putting one of those plastic standard efforts in. So I had to sell my plastic standard effort that had been round the side in the last house. And that's how we came to decide to build our own. Now, the start of that process was with my father-in-law, who came over. Oddly enough, it's almost a year to the day that he turned up, and we needed something for him to do, and it was kind of combined with a period where I hit a really good purple patch for Pajero, so I was constantly doing car stuff.
Purple patch? Is that a British expression?
Must be, yeah. It means a really good period.
A purple patch?
A purple patch, yeah.
Learn something.
I might have adapted that on the basis that purple's obviously my favourite colour thanks to our fleet, so it might be another colour that I've got entirely wrong.
This is kind of an interesting one, just as an aside to the purple patch. Yeah. Marc de Grosier, legend in Montreal, one of the guys behind Descente sur le Saint-Laurent, which was the rafting company that him and Charles de Gaspé-Beaubien set up. A lot of name dropping here.
You are name dropping.
But
pick that one up.
But Marc, favorite color purple. All of their buses, converted school buses to ferry people back up to the top of the rapids. Purple.
Yeah, see, we literally, oddly enough, purple was already my favourite colour, but it had nothing to do with the reason why the fleet was purple.
Oh.
We sat on 3 different roads in Dubai, marking the colour of all the vans. And then we worked out the one colour that we hadn't seen was purple.
So hold on, the two of you,
yeah,
were just sort of sitting in lawn chairs, a cooler in between you. You got Diet Pepsis.
Oh, I wish. No. We were in a car with a broken seat, kind of almost horizontal. That was this broken seat. Going, and literally one of us would be calling, the other one would be writing down for hours on end.
Okay.
And then purple wasn't there. Yeah. So then obviously, rather than just going for a standard purple, I came from a branding background. So I therefore did not want a standard purple. I wanted a unique purple, and equally, then once we got the unique purple, I'm like, I bet we can do that in pearlescent. We're like, it's 40% more expensive. We're only doing one van.
There you go. So
50 vans later.
So on one more name drop, Seth Godin, the book Purple Cow, you guys embodied the purple cow. There we go. So
that's nice to hear.
Go read Seth Godin's marketing book called Purple Cow. You are the example in that book.
Well, it wouldn't surprise me, actually, especially if it was produced somewhere around 1994, which was the end of my official experience in marketing. Dan always, the best whatever. So I always talk about the marketing funnel. And Dan goes, yeah, that's circa 1994, isn't it? I'm like, no, that's way before that. And I'm like, but it's still relevant. Anyway, nobody who now comes in to help us with all the marketing stuff has ever used the marketing funnel, apart from our new marketing manager came in and she gave it the funnel within 15 minutes. And at that point, she was hired on the spot as far as I was concerned. Dan's wetted himself with laughter and explained the whole scenario.
Okay,
but it is worthwhile. Where were we?
Back to the shed.
Oh, the shed, darn it. Do we have to? I thought, see what I did there? The diversion tactic.
Yeah.
So, Thursday night, the lights have hit the shed, and I suddenly worked out the main problem that I'd had was, it was watertight, it was sun protected for the summer. So on that basis, I'd done enough to get me through, because it got really hot last time. I was sweating buckets just trying to get it to that stage. But now, obviously, it's now cooling down quite nicely. And I'd had a slight disagreement with my father-in-law in terms of, well, no, his interpretation of what I'd asked him to do was slightly out.
So this is another important aspect of any DIY operation you do. There needs to be agreement, A, between you and the boss, which is ultimately, in your case, Natalie.
Without a doubt.
And then you need to have agreement with the help who think they're the boss. This was your father-in-law.
Without a doubt.
And is there a third agreement you have to have? No, I think that's probably it.
No, yeah, probably. Well, no, you have to be kind of single-minded in what route you're going to go.
Yeah.
So I've got my alter ego as another one.
Right.
Yeah. So say, oh, yes, you can do it that way. No, I can't. Yes, you can. Anyway, so basically the issue was that he had cut one, because it's a four-sided roof in effect, like a Dutch barn. You call it a Colombian barn? No,
just call it a barn.
Right, cool. I'll go with barn. So therefore, there's four separate sections of roofing felt. And the idea was that for the top two sections, it would be long enough so that we could curve it over the edge and underneath again. So that way it's watertight.
How did you fix it underneath the edge? Just tacked it on?
Yeah, tacked it on. Yeah, so that was the plan. And it would have worked utterly beautifully until he cut it too short to be able to do that on the front side as well. No. Not even the back side where we could get away with it. So,
what was his thinking? Just it's going to be aesthetically better?
I didn't even ask his thinking, because the damage was done.
He's the engineer.
Yeah, he is. And 99% of it is perfect.
But he's not a materials engineer.
Well, no, he's a civil engineer, but he can turn his hand to virtually anything. And it sounds like I'm being very negative about my father-in-law.
No,
but what he's done is he's produced a shed that is way beyond the quality that I could have ever done. And the front door of it is so beautifully fitted that I get an air rush as you close it. I mean, it's just incredible. It really is. However, he did cut this too short.
This is the roofing felt.
So I now need to reverse engineer the joint from the lower section to go into the underhang, come back and then go up and then be tacked into place that way. But it therefore leaves a little gap that is there. But I've now realised that if with the L section wood that's going to go across that section, I put that in with an additional bit of silicone inside, not on the front because that will crack, but inside, then I will still get it watertight. Okay. So that was the revelation last Thursday night. Okay. And I realised that to finish it off would take me about another 4 hours, and I had that available.
That's great.
Friday,
so is it done?
Friday morning. No, of course not.
You just told me it's only going to take 4 hours.
I had exactly 4 hours available before I had to do, was it Dylan for something or other? Dylan had something on Friday lunchtime, I think I was already booked for. So I had that slot. So I was like, here we go, let's get this done. James is going to be so proud of me in the next podcast, finally, to get it done. So then I wake up on Friday morning and things don't feel quite right with my back. And I'm like, this isn't normally. I mean, I've had a history of lower back issues since I was 15.
We were even talking not so long ago about backs.
Yes.
And about wearing belts. Or
yes, we were. That was the last podcast.
That's the last podcast.
Right.
You see? Is that what starts happening with our podcast? We talk about things and then they manifest?
Let's not get too scary here. But, so my lower back has been bad since I'm 15 or 16. Now, I then went...
It's a sciatica that kicked
Beetle, yeah. But anyway, long story. Yeah, all that. So I then decided to go beetle racing on the Monday after our last podcast. And it was worth it. I mean, it was unbelievable. The first time...
This is the first time you had two on.
Yes, and it was miles better than we could ever imagine. I've got one friend who was in that car. He has a 450 horsepower BMW, an absolute fire breather. He said it was more fun in our little Beetles than he's ever had in that. So and the cars were so evenly matched that we go flat out, absolutely on the limit for an hour solid. It was unbelievable. And anyway, so it was worth every bit of damage that I did to my back, but literally I got out and I couldn't even stand up straight. But it was worth it, not even a question. Anyway, so I've been struggling with that all week, and I got to Thursday, and it was just getting kind of better enough that I thought, okay, yeah, no, I'll be able to do this tomorrow. Anyway, I woke up Friday morning, and it wasn't my lower back that was the issue. I had kind of my shoulder muscle that was just, it was really tight.
The one that you're holding on to the strap as you're going around corners on the track? That?
Oh, I wasn't holding on to anything. No, it was nothing to do with the Beetle racing. That was the lower back again, but just a total random error issue with my body, unfortunately. And it started off and I thought, oh, okay, yeah, that hurts, but it was survivable. And I kind of went downstairs, we worked out breakfast and whatever, and then went back up for a shower. And I'm in the shower and all of a sudden it really hit. I mean, really hit. To such a degree, there were tears in my eyes. I'm screaming for Natalie. And 40 minutes later or so, I'm in the A&E at Parkview Hospital going, what do you do about this? So luckily, a fantastic doctor there said, oh, no, we've seen this plenty of times before. Take these, you'll be much better in 48 hours, but it's going to take about a week to fix it. Oh. So I've been on heavy drugs ever since, which I've got to say make me quite happy. So they're the good drugs. And it has, it's kind of settled it all down. So now I can feel it, but it's not that much worse. And we're now on what? We're on Tuesday today, aren't we? So Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, 4 days. But I'm out with the boys tonight, so I stopped taking the drugs last night. So that way I can go out with the boys, and I might need to continue. But what I've realised is that because now my shoulder isn't hurting, I can now feel my lower back again. So absolutely falling apart at 46. It's ridiculous. Time to work on my core.
Yeah, exactly. So
as a result, Friday didn't happen because I was in hospital instead.
Okay.
So
what's the plan?
Well, the plan is I thought that I had 2 days free coming up, and then my dad out of nowhere has sent me a present for a financial present, and now it looks as though we're going to be getting a new bed.
Okay.
So rather than build it, which was the way I would have liked to have done it.
You were going to build your own bed.
I was happy to build my own bed. I quite fancied that as the next project. And Natalie has totally vetoed that.
Well, it's because she knows about the shed.
Fair point. Yeah, I'll take that one on the chin. But you can get plans for that. It could have been really good fun.
Yeah.
Anyway,
the box is going to get delivered with a few connectors and brackets, and
I'm not sure
then
you
you're
get
going to have
that
to go
much.
get the wood. And
but I've got all the processes now. I know how to do these things. However, no, she's having absolutely none of it. So tomorrow morning she is going to go. I've got to look after the dogs, and we chopped off Pannington's knackers last week. Hasn't changed anything. Apparently, it's 6 weeks before we know whether anything's going to change. Oh my word, that dog. It's lucky he's cute. I tell you what, absolutely lucky he's cute. Oh, anyway, right. So swiftly moving on. So I'm hoping that I get a slot over the next couple of days to be able to
put the last 4 hours
this. Yeah, put the last 4 hours in.
It's Murphy's Law, right? Something is going to get in the way of every project we're working on.
I still don't fancy my chances, I'm going to say.
It'll happen.
One day.
Or you're just keeping it because it's great for the podcast.
Maybe that's it. Great. Yeah. The lack of an update. It's the longest lack of an update you've ever heard, isn't it?
Yeah, it's pretty long. Okay, I want to jump swiftly into weather issues because we're getting weather here in the UAE. People are, I was talking to some folks who were watching a football game in the UK the other day, somewhere in England. Who knows? But it was snowing.
I know.
They said the pitch was white.
Yeah, that's standard at the moment for games in the UK.
Then you got stuff going on in North America. Everywhere around the world is seeing some form of weather change. And that, for us, has an impact on surfaces.
Yeah.
So I wanted to talk a little bit about what we can start to do to think about, in our case here, a little bit of sand and rain on tile stuff, what might be going on in other parts of the world with rugs and mats we put out and salting or sanding or. But what we can start to do to make our surfaces more weatherproof.
Well, a bit of context as well, that over the last year and a half, we've literally had hardly any rain whatsoever.
Yeah.
Which is something that, so people have kind of, it's out of mind entirely for us about this issue. Now, we've tackled this issue in different ways in the past in terms of waterproofing and windows and power and that kind of thing. So we're not going there this time. We're talking about anti-slip more than anything, aren't we?
Yeah.
And anti-slip is probably the most difficult part of all of it if you've already got things installed.
And this is the challenge, isn't it?
This is the
Because
challenge.
you get everything installed, and then you realize you get a little water on it, you get a little rain on it, and something that you thought was going to be excellent. And I saw this the other day. We were at a park.
Yeah.
And the surface was beautiful. Got a little wet. People were falling all over the place.
We've unfortunately done this in our garden in one location. So we decided that we would upgrade 2 areas from the awesome unpolished granite that we've got, which was cheaper, looks better, and it turns out is totally and utterly anti-slip. But obviously, we knew better. This is the Royal Week, aren't we? Yeah. And so the upgraded granite, which is more of a sealed surface for the dining area, and then actually we've also got it for kind of the one of the play areas, so not around the pool in effect, would be a better bet. And we did everything right. We went to the shop, we got some water, we poured the water on, we had a slip on it, and it was absolutely fine. Well, the stuff that arrived had more of a sheen than there was in the shop. And it isn't absolutely fine whatsoever.
Oh, no.
No, big problem.
So this is around the table, right?
This is around the table,
so someone accidentally spills a little bit of something and you get up and it's, whoa!
Well, more of an issue is it's also quite close to the pool. So around the pool, we have the unpolished granite, which is fine, but it's only 2 tiles wide. So we have a segue in that area between the two, which if the kids are running around doing usual kid stuff, water is going to get straight on that, and we've had it where we've had one slip. Luckily, they didn't go down. So now we're quite good actually. Our kids are quite good in terms of when we really need something from a health perspective. If we make it very, very clear that we're not joking and we're totally serious about it, they remember, which is incredible at 10 and 6. I'm hugely proud of that. But then when you get other kids involved, there isn't a chance in hell. No chance. So oddly enough, the articles that you sent were kind of sparked a little bit of an idea in my mind. So there's various different ways that you can handle this. Now, something that they never tell you in these articles is if you plan to put a sealer over the top, and so it basically, an anti-slip sealer, all it has is different levels of silica in it, or whatever their substrate is that gives it that anti-slip.
Right.
Okay. Now, the issues with that are, first of all, adhesion to the tile that you've already got. If you've got an old tile that's been down for a while, it will be a combination of dirty, even if you try to clean it. It will have some kind of contaminant, whether that be oil or bird feces or whatever it may be. There are contaminants in it. Well, all of these elements are unknowns as far as it goes with the adhesion. Equally, they're sat in a lab with a brand new tile when they do all their testing. And every single tile will take a sealer in a totally different way.
Really?
Yeah, there isn't just a standard. It all depends on how porous that tile is, and therefore, and what that top surface is, which will determine the adhesion. If you've got something that's quite porous, there's a good chance you're going to get quite good adhesion on it. But the question is for how long? Because in our climate,
the key, isn't it? That's the key.
Yeah, in our climate, if you imagine, along with exactly the same way that like a bridge, for instance, or a concrete structure has those expansion joints, your tiles are going to expand and contract. But the problem is your sealer isn't. So over time, it's going to loosen it and it will eventually crack. Then what do you do?
Yeah, because then it's going to look awful because you're going to have stuff chipping off.
Yeah, but then how do you deal with that? Yeah, how do you replace it? Well, I don't know. I haven't got the answer for that. The only thing that you could probably do is to try and strip it entirely, which is a horrible process, and start again with something new. What I would probably do is I would split it therefore. So if you've got porous tiles, and you know if you've got a porous tile, pour water on it. Does the water disappear or is it on the top? If you've got a porous tile, then yeah, sealers are feasible. Generally, if you've got a porous tile though, they're much more anti-slip naturally than they would be. Things like travertine or, again, our unpolished granite is incredible. And it looks phenomenal and it's really cheap. I mean, I'm gobsmacked. We're paying like 38 a square metre or something for that. And admittedly, it's 20 mil. Yeah. But the difference is 30 mil, which is the standard size that if you went to a contractor, they would fit 30 mil for you. Well, that is because it's designed to be able to put a car on it, that kind of weight.
Oh, all right.
Well, fair enough if you're doing a driveway, but for the rest of your property, you don't need it.
Yeah,
It's really strong granite. You do not need that level of thickness. So therefore, go with the cheaper stuff, and it looks utterly phenomenal.
Fantastic.
Yeah. Now, so that is unnaturally
So actually,
anti-slip.
So think of these things.
When
think
you're
of-
doing the install, it's critical to get that right. Work out what you're using those tiles for.
And ask those questions.
Plan.
How is this going to work with weather and stuff falling on it, and sand and dust and dirt? And
you know the other one that I find just utterly unbelievable, which is the number of properties that I see here with interior tiles, exterior. And these are sealed, these are properly sealed and printed tiles. Outdoor.
Why do you think people are doing that? Do you think they just
lack
don't...
of knowledge?
Lack of knowledge.
Absolutely. And also, quite often it will be either a contractor who can't find a really good outdoor tile, or that knows that the client doesn't have a budget. Well, see, the budget isn't an issue if you know what you're doing to be able to afford. So they want the cheapest thing going. Well, in which case that will be a printed interior style tile that is just, it's terrible. It looks so bad, you know?
And they tend to break too.
Yeah, they do. They chip. You're absolutely right. And then when they chip, it's always in the middle of the tile on those. Yeah. So that way, there's nothing that you can do to try and solve it. You just stuff. So now let's talk about exterior tiles that are down. We've got an issue in terms of not being able to use a sealer. So something that I learned today was acid etching, where I knew about the concept of acid etching.
Acid etching.
Yeah, but I didn't know that it was a thing for tiles, and apparently it is.
That's got to be a specialist.
Yeah, it's a specialist chemical. Yeah. So the idea is that on a micro level, it will eat away at the tile surface, and as a result, because that's an uneven process, it will create a level of grip.
All right.
Now, when you read into it, what they also say is, you need to try this out in an inconspicuous area, because if you imagine that process, what it's actually doing is dulling your tile.
Yeah.
Well, for me, dull tiles are the name of the game. Exterior, I never want a polished tile exterior, because you know fully well that a polished tile is sealed, and therefore you're going to slip like you wouldn't believe. Unfortunately, the ones that we've got down are kind of that 50-50, almost like a semi-sheen. They weren't in the shop, and we didn't spot it early enough. So I actually now think that this may well be the route that I go down. And they say, look, 5 minutes, take it off. So acid etch down, 5 minutes, take it off. And then at that point, try it, see whether or not it's dulled. And if not, you can do different sections for different lengths. I'm going the full 15 minutes straight off the bat, because we want these to be matte. Uh-huh. So we'll just strip off whatever is on that top layer, and away we go from there. But I've got a big area to do. I've got like 100 square meters, I think, of this. In fact, I've probably got a bit more than that. So I've got to find somebody who can sell me that stuff on an industrial scale, and we'll roller it on.
It just sounds like an opportunity for something to go all wrong here.
I absolutely agree, but I've got spare tiles, so therefore we can try it on.
Is there another option? Like just
well, no, you can go for the nuclear option, which is
new tiles.
Well, that's the absolute nuclear option, to say the least. But also, I suppose you could grind. You'd have to be pretty careful grinding, and also the results of grinding are really variable.
So wouldn't your tile guy have a nice industrial polisher that he can put a bit of grit on to take the sheen off the tiles and just run the polisher over top?
Okay, so different types of tiles. Ceramic tiles, never in a month of Sundays would I ever think about going anything mechanical, because all you'll do is strip off that top surface and you end up with just tile. That'll be it. So that's not going to work. But if you've got a stone tile, a solid stone tile, then you've got that option. I only ever use solid stone tiles because I just can't bear the thought of going through it. So that way, if you do get a chip or whatever, it's the same underneath, so it doesn't stand out like a sore thumb, which is the reason why I stick to those, especially for exterior. So yes, we could do that in terms of going mechanical. Well, no. No, because I've done the mechanical route.
Yeah.
I've done the mechanical route on concrete before. And to get the desired result, you would not believe the level of dust that's involved in doing that. I mean, I've never seen anything like it before when we ground a warehouse, in effect, for a client a long time back in the day. Totally unsuccessful project. Horrible clients. They really were. So that brings back just the willies just even thinking about it. But it is feasible to be able to do it. But to get an equal grind, you're not talking one of those little industrial polisher type style things.
Not just hand by hand going tile by tile.
No, without a doubt. What you're talking about is a ride-on, because you need that level you need that level of weight just to be able to get through consistently. Otherwise, you end up with score marks everywhere.
Right.
So it'll look terrible. So that is the nuclear risky option in that regard. So yeah, I'm now thinking more along the lines of, if you've got ceramic tiles down, wrong choice, rip them up, get a proper tiler in who knows what they're doing, and go with stone.
Well, wouldn't that just also be the option of putting another layer of stone on top?
See, yeah, the people suggest this here, and it's just ridiculous. Because if you've got a sealed tile above, and we talked about the expansion and contraction, then at that point, you think that the tile glue is going to actually stick effectively to that tile. It's really not, whatever you're told. And the reason you're told that is because the contractor knows, he's not going to be around at the time when you're complaining about it in a year to 18 months. Yeah. And secondly, he knows that you're a tight arse and don't have the budget to be able to do the job properly. Well, if you want to bodge something, then bodge away, but it's just ridiculous. It's an absolute waste of money.
When's this project going to start?
No, that's after the shed. So could be quite a while.
And there's the bed in there. No, you're buying the bed. So
yeah, I think we're buying the bed now, so I don't think we can do that. Mind you, trying to find, this is the problem, that we need a Super King, but a Super King is all different sizes.
Yeah.
Like, why? Why has the bed industry not worked this out?
No.
It's ridiculous. They consider it
different size than buying something from.
That's the length now. Yeah. They're at 190 rather than 2 meters, which is the standard length of the bed, not width, the length on those. So it's just an absolute minefield. But we need something bigger than we've got 180 width at the moment. We need something bigger than that because dogs keep making their way in. And Rolo is quite a big dog. And he does this amazing move, which I've got to say is so impressive unless you're getting squashed out of bed as a result, which is he walks up, he then stops still, and then he does like a complete 180, because he needs to get between Natalie and myself. He does this enormous 180 so that he lands upside down with his legs in the air. Looks like somebody shot him, but it's absolutely hilarious unless it's 2:30 in the morning, you're desperately trying to sleep, as this dog barges you straight out towards the side of the bed. So bigger width of bed, so hopefully if the dogs do decide they need to do that.
Are you going to go check intercoil in places like that? Have you ever checked out?
I'm not doing any of that. Okay. No.
Natalie going to go to intercoil?
Natalie can go wherever she wants, and away we go. And thanks to my dad, who's now sent us a present through, he was kind of into to finance that. Nice. Yeah, I feel really lucky. I sent her a message going, "What the do you think you're doing?" I thought when he said, I've sent a little something across for you to get you and Natalie a present. I thought, oh, great, that'd be nice. We might even get just a lunch out somewhere. Yeah. Well, no, this finances a very nice bed. What are you doing? He's like, I've done the same for your sister. All right, well, in which case, we're kind of past the arguing point, aren't we? Well, thank you. That's very, very kind indeed, but way beyond the call. So, very kind of...
Birds. I want to jump back to this.
Yes.
This is something we've talked about quite a bit.
Yep.
You had some experience with pigeons.
Yes, I did.
Things in the ranches.
Yeah.
And you went through a variety of different techniques, and then you had those spikes installed.
Okay, this is a no-brainer. Okay, there are people who will try different methods, such as the scary falcons that are put on you, not live falcons, but just like
the falcons or the owls.
Yeah, all the owls, all of that. And then you've got the kite versions. So when it's windy, they fly up in the air. Those look great. Yeah. None of it works. Yeah, you've got the other ones, which are the polished foil that kind of moves around. Yeah. That doesn't work. I've seen them all. The only thing that works is bird spikes. Okay. Also, this is approved as the right method of being able to move birds on from the RSPB, the Royal Society for the Protection of Birds. Okay. We put this up a year and a half ago, and we got killed by the comments. They're all going to get impaled.
It's not like they fly down full speed onto these.
No,
things.
absolutely not. When the Royal Society for the Protection of Birds, which is, admittedly, it's British, but it is a worldwide authority on the protection of birds, is stating this is our preferred method of bird control, you kind of think that you should be on the right lines. Well, in social media, let me tell you, you are not. So as a result, we've literally dropped it as something that we proactively market. We have it available if that's what people would want.
That's cool.
But again, there's two different varieties here of bird spike. There are all the spikes are standardly galvanized steel or something similar. But the actual strip across the bottom, you either have acrylic or you have another stainless steel piece.
And which one's better?
It's a no-brainer. Don't get the acrylic because after 6 months of UV, they're not UV stable. So they just snap up, and that's just a standard thing. Yeah. So yes, it's only the stainless steel.
The acrylic is cheaper, I suspect.
Yeah, it is a little bit. It's not as much in it.
Oh, really?
There's a lot more here than there used to be as well. So you can find it around the bounce, and it's not crazily priced as long as you don't go to Ace Hardware for this, which is insane.
Why do you think that is? They have some great stuff. Do you think it's?
I know entirely why.
They're sourcing it from?
Yeah, they've just done. They do batch orders straight out of Ace US. And as a result, when the time you've added in the shipping on top of the previous shipping, 'cause it's gone from wherever it's going to the US, then it's gone all the way here. It ends up prohibitive for some items. Not all. There's plenty that's really great at Ace, but just not this. So yes, you need to look elsewhere for that. I mean, Dragon Mark's an obvious, and it's the same quality.
Oh, really?
Assuming that you're buying the stainless steel ones, yeah. Alternatively,
do you know which section they sell that in at Dragon
Mark? Yes and no, on the basis that yes, I can get there. No, I can't remember what the section's called. It's basically as you're walking down from the fountains towards Dragon Mark 2. You walk through the bridge section where you come out of electronics, turn right there, go past JZX, turn left, and all that row is where you want to be. Right, there you go. Sorry, that's a bit rounded about, but that's where
Dragon Mart is organized when you're walking through it like a traditional mall with these back channels, these back streets and alleys.
Yeah, but the areas, it's supposed to be organized in terms of area and what they sell.
It started like that.
Yeah, it did. It's no longer like that in the slightest. You have to walk it, and it's the only way. And I find every 4 months or so, I try and spend 3-4 hours or so, just when I need steps as well. That is one of the places that I literally do 8,000-9,000 steps of just walking Dragon Mart, because everything changes and the locations of things change. So just to reprogram myself with where I can find things, it's quite an afternoon. God, I'm tired at the end of it, but it is very useful. And we often have situations where either our purchasing team have run out of ideas on something, or alternatively, I just need something quick and I don't have that 4 hours free. So to know exactly where something is in there is really useful.
So get the spikes.
Get the spikes, not even a question, and put them right at the edge.
Right.
Which is another thing. Otherwise, they'll sit directly in front of them. And even like they can be two inches.
Seen that. I've seen spikes up, and I've seen the birds just on the little edge.
Yeah, no, it needs to be right on the very edge of where it is. Attaching them, we just use construction adhesive, which is really easy. You don't have to use all that much. It will stay on the whole for quite a while. And oddly enough, I drove past our old property the other day, all still there, absolutely fine, doing huge renovations on that place, which is interesting. Yeah, there was a mound that must have been 20 foot high where the rear garden was. So they're pulling out everything there. They kind of needed it. It was it's a huge pot, actually one of the biggest, I think, in the ranches. But because we were just renting, we didn't do any major work to it. So it's probably about time that somebody did that.
All right. We're getting to the time of year where we start decorating up around our places, putting lights up on the outside, putting lights up on the inside. You guys started yet?
No, Not exactly. In terms of outside, we've kind of got that permanent arrangement of the what I call them festoon lights, but I don't think that's the Scottish word. And because Ewan used to use that, I've kind of adopted it. These are the lights that come on the string.
Right. Okay.
And here's another classic. Oh my word! My next door neighbour has put these up above the height of the wall.
There seems to be a set of lights now that are being sold that are so bright.
It's just, no, I'll tell you what it is. The set is absolutely standard. And then people basically do not go for the ultra minimum bulb possible. They think the standard bulb that they use in their house is the right one for these. So they then put those in. And if you imagine, we're now talking like 50 times what you've got in a standard room. And then they're quite surprised when it's rather bright, you know?
Yeah.
And it's unbelievable. I reckon 80% probably are wrong.
Really?
So it is a really simple scenario with these string lights. That's what they're called here, isn't it? String lights. Really simple scenario. You get the lowest bulb rating that you possibly can in LED that's dimmable. Okay? And I'm talking something like 2 watts is possible. That's what I've got on mine. Okay?
2 watts.
So I've got a 2 watt.
So what do you figure your neighbor has? 50?
No, because it's LED. I reckon they're on like 12. So 6 times probably what I've got. Because obviously we're LED these days, so therefore they're much lower ratings anyway. Now, with my 2 watt, I've got every one put in, so I'm not doing the every other one, which lots of people do to try and solve the problem they've created. But on top of that, I have a dimmer, and I can't.
Is this an aftermarket dimmer, or is this?
Oh yeah, we built it.
So just put a little dimmer, which a lot of these string lights don't have dimmers, and this is a big
problem. Yeah, I know, because the reason is there are not exterior dimmers widely available. So to be fair, I have got a little bit of an advantage. So my electricians managed to externalize an internal dimmer by adding just some, they put it inside a standard junction box. They then put grommets on each side of the internal to external. And then just to prove it, they hit it with a Karcher power washer to make sure that we had no issues, which they did beautifully. So I was so impressed by the ingenuity of it. But we get it at about half maximum. Okay. And that's as far as we can go on 2 watt bulbs. Yeah. So if you can imagine, taking it to the equivalent of a 1 watt is about where we are. And it works beautifully. It's really nice. You get mood lighting.
Change colours for the holidays?
Absolutely not. It's I've got, 60 bulbs in it. And as a result, no, I'm not doing that whatsoever, James.
Okay, so we were talking about Ace.
Oh, yes.
If you go by Ace right now, they've got the icicle lights. They've got all sorts of different lights that are available now to put outside.
Yeah, they're good supply for all that kind of stuff.
Someone's going to want to put those up.
Yeah, and the quality of their Christmas lights is actually generally some of the best that we can get here in the UAE.
So we've got 2 problems. 1, someone's going to have to attach them to their place.
Yeah.
And 2, they're going to have to get some electricity to make that work as well.
Yes. So the attaching them bit, so that would normally require a ladder because you want them with some element of height. We can help with that. Mm-hmm. But again, if you've got a ladder, go for it. Be careful. If you imagine the nature of it.
It's not just the ladder. You look at the exterior of a lot of our places. You've got to have something to hook these things into.
Oh, you're going on house stuff.
How else would you do?
Well, I was kind of thinking on trees and that kind of thing.
Okay.
That way. Yeah. But the house thing, that's more of a Diwali thing, isn't it? Because everybody's just done that in the ranches, and they're still up at the moment.
Oh, there you go. They've left it.
Yeah. But there's basically the Diwali guys who come and do everybody's house.
So you get the Diwali guys to come and do your Christmas lights.
Well, this is where it gets a little bit more difficult because having looked at the Diwali lights, these are all old-style incandescents. Uh-huh. So therefore, in that situation, I'm thinking, God, the load that's on this property must be insane.
Where are they hooking in for power too? Are they running?
They go off the roof.
Off the roof?
Yeah, so if you're on the house, you have isolators for each of your ACs. Uh-huh. So all they'll be doing is, I call it Jimmy wiring. So, empty wires. They'll just knock the front. I've seen this numerous times. They knock the front off one of the isolators that's designed for the AC, leave that off, and they literally just throw the wires into one of the connections. Sometimes they'll tie it down, sometimes they just twist it round, and away they go. As far as they're concerned, that's job done. And obviously it's on a roof, so nobody can see it.
Yikes.
I know, it's lethal.
Yeah.
Absolutely lethal. Any water that comes and hits that, and you're that's it. You're tripped
Short
immediately.
the whole thing out.
Yeah. So, but again, that's designed for 20 amps.
Right.
No, that's got to be, some of the houses I've seen are way more than 20 amps with old style lighting in there. So that's the first thing, overloading a system. So then if you imagine, if you're going around a tree, so if you're going around a property, then you've got every bit of health and safety risk going. So get a professional to do this, not the Diwali boys. And then the other issue is with a tree. If you try and do a tree yourself, it's absolutely fine the first bit, but you're going round and round that tree.
Yeah.
So unless you're prepared to get up and down that ladder with regular monotony, you're going to find that you're right on the limits and potentially beyond where you can reach off a ladder, which means there is a huge chance that it is going to fall. So the right way of doing that is two guys, two ladders passing from one to the other as they go up their longer ladders. So that way you're controlled and away you go.
What about outdoor circuits? Do you got outdoor electricity access at your place?
Yes, we do. Okay. Yeah, I mean, there's. I've got both a socket circuit. I've got.
Is that a common thing in the ranches?
Yeah, yeah. Almost all properties have that.
Because I'm thinking around where I live, that's not a common thing to have outdoor sockets.
Okay. Well, you can normally pull the obvious location to do it, if you were going to do it, is if you've got a water heater on an external wall.
Oh.
Yeah, then at that point, that water heater normally will be 2,700 watts, about 14 amps, okay? Now, assuming that you're using low energy bulbs, you should easily be able to find a bulb string that would only pull an amp.
Okay.
And away you go. Yeah. And again, if you imagine, even if you wanted to do exterior lights, if you've got a bunch of bulbs, and now you'd be looking at 15 watts each. No matter the size of your garden, you're going to work really hard to get to a stage where it's more than a couple of amps.
And the one that always worries me are the folks who have found they've got an outdoor socket, and then they get the old white multi-bar extension cord, and they've just put it outside, and they've got 4 or 5 strands of lights going into that.
Yeah, and not often they're not fused.
No.
So again, if you're ever buying an extension cord, fair enough, you need an extension cord. We understand the practicalities, but please make sure it's fused at 13 amps maximum, because if you do overload it, and so many people aren't capable of doing that calculation. That's why the fuse is
weird.
there.
I don't understand how people can't do that calculation. It's on the box.
Yeah, I know it is, but
you just add it up. And we got calculators on our phone, so if you're having some issues with math, or the maths, just use your calculator.
Well, if you imagine, I mean, I always use my wonderful wife as an example, but she has the opposite scenario, which is anything that she plugs in more than one, as far as she's concerned, is going to blow up.
Okay. So she's super safe.
Yeah. Well, no, everything blows up. She has water blowing up before now. It's just, and so saying to her, look, if there's anyone who's going to kind of know this, who's not a qualified electrician, then it's me. I'm fairly up to speed on this. So if I say it's safe, just accept that it's going to be safe. So it's not going to blow up then. No, it's not going to blow up. I just told you it's perfectly safe. But so we have to deal with that one. But again, if you have a fuse on it, then that will blow. It's designed at 13 amps, but it'll actually blow 10, 20% more than that. So you have a little bit of wiggle room. And also buy one where it's got a proper earth, please. Yeah. So look at the plug that's on the extension socket. If the top one of the 3 prongs is metal, you've got a fairly good chance to suggest that it's an earthed unit.
But if it's plastic, forget it.
Absolutely. I mean,
I do see them selling those, and I can't understand why they're selling extension cords that do not have a proper grounding.
I know, it's just unbelievable.
What do you use that extension cord for?
Yeah. Well, also, the really good ones have surge protectors on them as well. And that, again, if you were planning to put any kind of electronics into an extension cord, you desperately need that as well, especially in the UAE during winter. That can happen, without a doubt. And I know plenty of people that have had everything electronic in the house blown sky high.
Well, we want to have that conversation, and I think we're going to do it next time. But we want to have the conversation about decorating indoors.
Yep.
Because trees are coming, so we want to talk about all the DIY of making that safe. And who knows? I love this idea of not just calling up the repair guys to come and do repairs, but also calling them up to to come and do some of this stuff. That can be kind of fun.
Absolutely.
So that's where we're going to go. I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be a lot of fun, which means we're done for another show. Colin, thank you very much.
No worries.
It's Podaholics. It's James Cast. It's the We Will Fix It Essential Maintenance Podcast, keeping you tuned in, dialed in. We'll do it all again real soon. Colin, thank you very much.